All right, welcome. Today we are diving into something that feels like it's straight out of the future. We're talking about eye tracking in iOS 18. This is a genuinely groundbreaking piece of tech, and we're going to break down exactly how it all works. So let me just start with this one question. What if you could scroll through your feeds, tap on apps, even type out a message without ever physically touching your screen? I know, it sounds like something from a sci-fi movie, but believe it or not, with iOS 18, it's now reality.
So what is eye tracking exactly? Well, at its core, it's an amazing accessories feature. It uses the same front-facing camera you use for selfies, but it combines it with some seriously clever AI to let you control your entire device. And here's the best part. You don't need to buy a single new accessory or piece of hardware. It's all built in.
But how in the world does just looking at something actually turn into a tap on the screen? It's a great question, so let's get into the mechanics of it. It's actually way more intuitive than you might think, and it really boils down to three key parts.
Okay, first up, you've got the pointer. The easiest way to think about this is that it's your new cursor, like a mouse for your eyes. It's just a small dot that shows up on your screen, and it follows your gaze with incredible precision. This little dot is your guide for everything else that's about to happen.
Now, this is where things get really smart. You know how our screens are packed with tiny little buttons and links? Well, instead of making you have perfect, superhuman aim with your eyes, the system uses something called Snap to Item. Basically, it sees the general area you're looking at and just clicks the pointer onto the nearest interactive button. It makes hitting your target almost effortless.
And finally, the big one. How do you actually click? That's where dwell control comes into play. Once that pointer has snapped onto an item, all you have to do is just hold your gaze steady on it for a moment. Just stare at it. The phone registers that pause as a tap. That's it. No touch, no blink, just a steady look.
Okay, so that's the theory behind it all, but how do you actually get it up and running and, more importantly, make sure it's accurate? Let's walk through the setup, because getting this part right makes all the difference in the world.
For the absolute best tracking, Apple gives 3 key recommendations. First, stability. This one's huge. You'll want to put your phone on a stand or a table. Why? Because even the tiny movements from holding it in your hand can mess with the calibration. Second, try to be about 1.5 feet away from the screen. And third, lighting. Make sure your face is nice and bright so the camera can get a really clear look at your eyes.
Getting it turned on is super simple. You just head over to your settings, go to accessibility, and then tap on eye tracking. Just toggle it on. From there, your iPhone will guide you through this really quick calibration process where you just follow a few dots as they move around the screen. That's what teaches the phone how your eyes move. And a pro tip, if you change your position or the lighting changes, it's always a good idea to do a quick recalibration.
Now, Apple knows that everyone is different, so this isn't some one-size-fits-all feature. They've actually built in some really powerful options so you can customize the whole experience and make it perfect for you. Let's take a look at what you can tweak.
This is where you can really dial it in. For instance, if the pointer feels a little too jumpy for you, you can turn up the smoothing to make it glide more. Want to tap faster? Or maybe you need a little more time to read an item before you click? You just adjust the dwell time. And my personal favorite is Zoom on Keyboard. When you turn this on, each individual key on the keyboard magnifies as you look at it, which makes typing with your eyes surprisingly precise. Okay, so whenever we talk about a camera that's, watching you, 2 huge questions pop up right away. What about my privacy? And can my phone even do this? So let's tackle those crucial details head on. This right here is probably the most important thing to understand when it comes to privacy. Everything, and I mean everything, from the images the camera sees to all the calculations about where you're looking, it all happens right there on your iPhone. Nothing gets sent to Apple, nothing is stored in the cloud. It is designed from the ground up to be private.
And as for who can use this, well, this feature requires a ton of processing power, so you are going to need an iPhone 12 or any newer model. And of course, you'll have to be running iOS 18 or later. Unfortunately, older phones just don't have the horsepower to make it work.
So as you can see, this is so much more than just a gimmick. It's a really fundamental shift in how we can interact with our devices. And it opens up this incredible new world of accessibility and control. And that leaves us with one final, really exciting thought. What happens when you combine this amazing eye control with the power of your voice, using features like vocal shortcuts? You could have a completely hands-free experience. The possibilities are really just starting to unfold.